Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside and welcome to August Back Porch Chat.
Right on.
Yeah, so basically in the summer we do back porch chats and
It's the porch chat now.
It's just the porch chat.
Yeah.
So yes, it is August here in North Carolina, Zone 7B, just outside of Charlotte. If you're new to the porch chats, this is just where we, very informal, talk about what's going on, give a little, behind the scenes update on life in the nursery and all things going on, and then we answer your questions from videos that have been
Going for the last month. Yeah.
for the last month. And I was telling Jerry, because we have now bumped up to 5 videos a week.
Yep.
And I was scrolling through taking questions, and I was like, man, we got a lot of videos since last time, and we actually did it like a month ago.
Okay, I was wondering.
Yeah,
how
no,
long ago
it's been right at a month. I mean, maybe not exactly a month, but it's been a month. So we've had a lot of videos. We are not going to get to every single video. This would be a 5-hour
chat.
So we are here on the back porch because it is nice and shady, and we have traded in our coffee for sparkling water with lots of ice and an insulated glass because it's a little toasty around here.
Yes. It's been warm. We've had a very, very warm summer, and it all started late spring, and it has not let up for us here in North Carolina. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen in other parts of the country, you guys have been the same way. I don't know. I just kind of like looking at the weather, so I'll look at weather apps.
You're a weather bug.
Those kind of things, and I'm just kind of into it. Just comparing our temperatures and dew point, and I've looked at dew points, which is our humidity.
Right. So that's how thick the air is, right?
So lots of times we've been 70, 71, 72 degrees dew point, which is very comparable to, Tampa, Florida. So that is.
And I'll say, when you're looking at that, it's like 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, 9 o'clock at night.
It's not like,
not counting during the day. We have our friend Paul from Pleasant View, and I was chit-chatting with him the other night, and I just had to look. It made me think about it because he's in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, we were actually thicker by a degree or two than Jacksonville, Florida at the time, and they have all kinds of water around them. It's just where we are right now.
It is, but I have found it interesting because I think this is probably the summer that I've been outside the most, like as far as like consistently during the days, like other than Sunday, like I'm outside 6 days a week for multiple hours a day, right? And I'll come in the house, and even like I was in the car taking Jackson to a birthday party, and I was like, I am freezing because the car was set at 70 degrees, like the air conditioning. Yeah. And I was frozen because
I'm ready to be frozen.
Oh my gosh. I'm not complaining. It's just like what you get used to.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, I am wearing a long sleeve shirt, but these are sun shirts. And as we ladies get older, you start to realize how important it is to take care of your skin. Right. And I have found that this is it's a thin shirt, it's a breathable shirt, but it is a sun protection shirt. So you're sitting there going, Jenny, you're talking about it's hot and you're wearing long sleeves. I do have on shorts, but it is a very breathable shirt.
Yeah, so with the heat, I mean, you may ask, that is a question, porch chat, but I'm coming up with your own question for you.
He's thinking of the questions.
I'm thinking about you.
He's
and you're like, well, what is going on there? We got lots of heat. How are things going? Is it hard? Is the heat hard on us? Because we're in a container. We're growing in a container, of course, that you come and purchase here. We have our perennials and shrubs, out there at the nursery in production. And this is what happens. We have this heat. We're running water all the time. Here come the rain showers every single night. You keep your water on because just a couple of weeks ago it was hot and dry. So the next thing you know, we're killing lavender. Mm-hmm. We're killing sedums
because it was too wet.
Because it's too wet, and then even the irrigation water, it's not evaporating because I think we're so thick. I don't know. But it's been a little bit of a challenge this year because of that.
It has been, and kind of going along with that, but talking about how, growing in containers. And Jerry and I, when we went over to the nursery this morning before we were working, and in the Easyscapes, they're at the right in front of the greenhouse where we have the 2 Easyscapes, and the one that's the deer resistant has the hibiscus, the evening rose, which we just planted less than, maybe it was a month ago. So when we planted those, we went to one side of the nursery, like where the hibiscus still are, and we picked out the 3 hibiscus that we wanted from our nursery stock, got those, planted them in the ground. The ones that are still here, right, the brothers and sisters of these evening rose that are off to the side, the ones in the ground are already at least twice as wide.
So how long you
so
saying
much
that's been?
thicker.
3 weeks? 2 weeks?
No, it's been more than 2. I would say 3 to 4 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Going in the ground.
You can come and get a 3-gallon that looks totally different, and you'll have the same thing in your landscape. Do not come to a nursery, look at what's in the pot, and necessarily say, that's a terrible plant.
No.
I mean, it is, especially right now in the summer for your nurseries to grow it, it is hard to maintain this beautiful, pristine looking shrub in a can. Because we are leaching the fertilizer out every single day because we're having to water every single day. So those hibiscus that Jenny was just talking about came out of the can and into the soil, into the landscape, where there's water, there's fertilizer. The roots are growing, it's grabbing all its nutrients every single day without us having to do it.
We have not, now because it is at where it is, right, it gets runoff from the greenhouse, like the water.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've actually physically hand watered those once. Have we?
No, I've seen some of our help watering, and I was like, I don't really need to do that. So I had them stop doing it.
Okay. Well, just the point is, get it out of the can, put it in the ground, whether it's an annual, a perennial, or a shrub. If you can get it out of the can and put it in the ground, it will take, this is what I preach all the time, especially with annuals right now, they will explode. They will take off.
Y'all don't just look at it and pass over it. If the hydrangea is a little yellow and it has a few little holes in it right now this time of year, it's fine.
You're buying the root
Buy
stock.
the plant, check the roots, pull the thing out of the can, check the roots, make sure they're white. Make sure there's plenty of roots there. If you have that, take it home. You got a good deal.
You do. All right. So
You get me a little fired up.
you get Jerry on a soapbox around here, people.
Doggy.
Okay, so we're going to get into the videos. And so because we had so many, he and I were taking questions at the same time. So for the first time ever, Jerry has selected some questions that I don't know about. So I don't know how many videos he did, so we'll just go back and forth here. And these videos are in no particular order, so I'm sorry, these are not organized, but the questions are organized by video. So the first video that I had picked was titled My Best Hydrangea Recommendations, and this is where we shared with you some of our favorite hydrangeas and how to grow them and our keys to success with them. And we were just sharing with you those hydrangeas, okay?
Yes.
And so first question comes from Jennifer. She says, this year I did not give my Incredible hydrangea the attention it needed. It didn't get pruned back this year. Should I prune it back as normal or cut it back further down next year? And so this was 2 weeks ago, so that would be about towards the end of July that she asked me that. And so my response to her is, go ahead and give it a light little prune. So you can give it just maybe by.
Yeah, she said something about cut it down during her round.
Should I prune it back as normal or cut it back further down next year? Yeah. Okay. So what I said to her is, because Incredibles bloom on new growth. So knowing that they bloom on new growth, cut it back by maybe a fourth. Just give it a little bit of a shape up. Cut it back by a fourth. Don't cut it, and the next year you're going to prune it as normal. You never want to prune those kinds of hydrangeas, your panicles, your Annabelle type hydrangeas. You never want to prune them all the way down, because that creates weaker stems. And
the only way that you're doing
we're going to get into this later on. There was a lot of questions about pruning.
Yeah, because the only time that you would ever, if some crazy reason it's gotten so floppy, like I know for us in production, they've gotten so bent over for a very long time.
And then the stems are actually growing.
Prune and bent, and you have no choice then just start over and cut that out.
Well, and we have had people where like trees have fallen on hydrangeas or massive limbs, and I'm like, it takes out half the hydrangea. And I said, yes, at that point, just what you're saying, just start fresh.
Light trim now.
Light trim now.
3/4 trim.
And then come late winter going into spring, cut it back by 1/3 its total plant size.
Okay.
All right. Miss Shirley says, thanks for this great lesson. Do you deal with Japanese beetles in your area? And do you think under pruning, making a tree make more tree form would help prevent flopping limelight from long, heavy rains? So there's kind of two questions in here. Japanese beetles. Oh my word. Yes, we deal with Japanese beetle. They have been exceptionally horrible this year. Praise the Lord, we're finally past the Japanese beetle cycle.
So, if you don't know, they've been out eating everything.
Everything.
So they're now, if you don't see them, this is the time to go get them. So they're going back to the turf, into the ground to make their.
So they lay their eggs.
Lay their eggs and make new babies.
Yes, for next year.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is, because this year they were exceptionally awful. Mm-hmm. I mean, eating things, and I would treat, and they would just like laugh at me, and it was awful. So we're going to show you how we are going to battle them. This is kind of a long-term plan using milky spores, but that's more.
Yeah, we're not going to do a video on it, but we're just.
But we're going to share about milky spores, and that kind of thing, because that's a great long-term natural solution for the lawns. So we'll do that, but it's not the time to do the milky spores. It's later on.
It is not, but it is time to go ahead and correct your soil pH.
Yes, we'll get into that.
And that's a broad.
So that was Japanese beetles. Yes, we have horrible Japanese beetle problem. For the most part, though, they really leave the hydrangeas alone.
Yeah, so
that's that. I mean, you may get one or two rogue beetles on the hydrangeas.
I saw them on the Limelight tree forms this year, and it was weird. I mean, but they weren't there long. Okay.
So then the second part was about pruning the Limelight tree form, or Limelights in general. So the key to your panicle hydrangeas is, because Limelights form those massive, huge blooms on it. When you get really floppy stems, it's because you're pruning too much. You want to prune back your panicle hydrangeas late winter going into spring. I can tell you when it is for me, like on the calendar. For me, it's beginning like between mid-February and mid-March. But if you're in Michigan, then that's going to be a totally calendar time difference. So I just say late winter, spring, right? When the plants start to just think about waking up, that's when you want to prune them. Look at the whole plant, take it back by 1/3. Don't go back more than 1/3. Don't go a half, don't go 3/4, because you want to have those stems that you leave on there, they get thicker and heavier and stronger and sturdier, so they can hold up the blooms. Also, when you're pruning that, if you have a bunch of little thin, little spindly, branches in there, cut those out completely and leave your really thick stems. That's what you want, because you need the heft and the strength of the stem to hold up those big heavy blooms.
That's right.
Okay. So there was okay, here we go. So that goes with Miss Mary. Mary says, how far back do you prune little limes and limelights in early spring? I do want them to get tall, 7B in North Alabama. Thank you. So panicle hydrangeas that bloom on new growth, no more than 1/3. And trust me, they will outgrow, like they will still get big. So every year I prune my little limes back by 1/3, and they are they're 4 to 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Because they grow more than I cut back each year, if that makes any sense. So just remember, panicles, no more than 1/3. And then, Robish says, very informative, and what a gorgeous backdrop. I was hoping you would show your Invincibelle rubies. How are they doing in their new location? So we had Invincibelle rubies when we first planted along the new patio beds. I planted the rubies there. They're going to be in the back, and they were going to get full sun, like sun up to sun down. The thing that we have learned with Invincibelle is the whole Invincibelle series. It's the whole series, right? Because there's Limetta, there's Ruby, there's Garnetta, there's all sorts of ones in that series. They do really well here in the South but they don't do well in the south in full all-day sun. They need that morning sun, so that if you can get 5 hours of morning sun, but then a break from the hot afternoon sun, that's what they need. Mine last year just were getting fried this time of year. So I moved them down by the creek bank so they would get that morning sun, and then they would get afternoon shade. And honey, let me tell you, we could sit on the front porch, and I was like, look at those rubies. I mean, they were like hundreds of yards away from us. I mean, like, they were far away, and they were just blooming and very happy. So that is the key if you're in the warmer zones for the whole Invincible series: morning sun, afternoon shade. And those are not on irrigation, and they were doing really well. So that is the update. I don't have any pictures, sorry, but they did really well. All right. Do you want to do a video?
Do I want to do a video? I don't want to do a video by myself.
Well, no, but you have them.
I'm just talking about doing a video.
Oh, ha ha ha! No, I do think now that we're doing 5 a week, I think Jerry needs to do more videos.
I know, y'all need to let us know about that.
Yes, please.
I don't mind it, but you know, we did talk about that one time.
Yeah, you're supposed to be doing more.
I was going to do some sort of weekly or monthly type thing. Let us know.
Yeah, so if you want to see a video where Jerry does someone on like once a month or something.
They are different.
They are different because you have a different style. I mean, we're different people, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why we asked. No, it was the video, I guess, over in the Pines Fun Nursery project. And any updates on the land you turned over for a pumpkin patch? So this is because probably seeing all our projects that we were knocking out, and Deanna Guzman, says, "What in the world y'all been doing?"
I know, seriously. Okay, so
well, I'll tell you all about it. So I mean, we get busy.
Life.
And we knew when we were turning it over, is like, will we actually get to it? Because we have so many other things to do. We
had the pumpkin seeds. We knew where it was going.
Yeah.
We turned the land over.
Yeah, so we've turned the land over, and everything kind of got, a little weedy, so we got that taken care of. We're still in time to do the pumpkins, but we've passed on the pumpkins, so we have seeded it with sunflowers. So we've turned the patch into sunflowers for this year. We'll just use it was too late by the time with everything we had going on with all the projects to really get into the pumpkins this year.
Well, and two, the reason that we could have planted the pumpkins, but we didn't have irrigation to that yet because there was a massive, Jerry extended the shrub lot, right? Yeah. We showed you where he moved and like made a new mum pad for the mums. And with that, he had to extend. So he had to take irrigation from production and trench all the way down there, which is a big distance. That was
a little bit of a larger project than first anticipated. On the day that we got started with that project, there were multiple issues with the equipment, hydraulic lines blowing up, busted. I don't know. It was just,
it was a hot mess.
It was a hot mess that day.
But we didn't do the pumpkins because we didn't have irrigation, and we didn't want to plant the seeds with no irrigation.
We did not at that time because my gosh, I mean,
that was the heat. June for us was extremely hot and dry. So we this is gardening. Something happens, you reassess.
Yeah, we did.
You course correct.
Yeah.
So if you're coming to Creekside this fall and going to buy mums, we're going to have fresh cut sunflowers for you.
Yeah, and a tip on that is that I was waiting on getting our seeds out, and so if you're going to put seeds out or you're going to direct sow into the soil, it's best to do it directly after a rain. And then I mean, you can't control it if it's going to rain the next day, but if you can get it after a rain, that's the best way to go.
Yes.
And that's what we just did.
Yes.
So,
got another question?
No.
That was the only question from that video?
No. It says, how do you deal with Japanese beetles?
And who's that from?
Which we had to handle. It's Wilma.
Wilma. Yeah. So in the meantime,
so that's why we're gonna come from it like we spoke earlier with milky spore to begin with, and that's how we're going to start to combat it. There is no true organic solution to kill the adult. So we spray them, we kill them, and we use multiple different products for that, which we're not going to get into at this time. So it's just that we have to get rid of them off of product that we're trying to sell.
Right, because nobody wants to come to a nursery and get their plant, whether it's a hibiscus or whatever it is, that is completely holy because of Japanese beetles.
So she then asked, should I put up the traps? And I would suggest no, I would not do that because the traps are attractors. So if I put up a trap, I'm going to bring in even more beetles from another area to my spot, especially in smaller gardens.
Right.
Like at your house or something like that.
Right, if you're in a neighborhood, that kind of thing, because you're gonna bring
you're
them from other.
You're gonna bring the neighbors over.
Yeah.
That's just.
So that is because Japanese beetles are not a native insect here.
Yeah.
And there are, I don't know of any natural predator that's going to eat the beetles. There is no organic solution to spray the adult beetles that will kill them. The only true organic method to kill Japanese beetles is to hand pick them off. We have 8.5 acres. We have thousands of plants out here, and that is just simply not an option for us.
Which is why we're going to go from more of a preventative method, and that's the best way to deal with them.
Right, and we're going to be treating acres.
Fire ants, here, the imported red fire ant, is that you have to come from it, to start to take out the mounds with the bait that gets to the queen. And it's just you're going to fight battles on and off with this. They're not going away. We can suppress them for some time, and then we're just going to have to go back at it.
Yep.
So.
Okay, next question.
So this is from the landscape bed. Troublesome bank,
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's only like one or two questions.
Okay.
The one question was, do you hand water this area?
And who was that from?
It is from Barbara.
We like to give little shout outs to our people. So Barbara, hand water that area.
Yeah.
Short answer, no.
No.
Because why?
Well, it's because it's a natural area for us. We're kind of fortunate in the fact that we have all these natural springs that are coming up, and that area is somewhat of a right below that bank sits a French drain. It's because there's a lot of water that comes from that area for whatever reason. Because
not only do we have the slope that's landscaped, and then there's a little farm road, right, just a little access road, and then at that point, then there's, in the woods, there's a nice big hill coming up from there.
Yeah.
So Creekside, the nursery itself, sits down in a holler, and because that's where the creek is. So we get water from every direction. So when we get rain, it all comes down to the creek, and that bed, that's why
it does really well.
Yeah.
The shrubs are fine, no issue. This one, Karen says though, how do you grow Supertunia bubblegum petunias in a landscape that does not get consistent water or weekly fertilizer?
And so it does get consistent water, it's just not from us.
It does. So so that's the trick that we have there. And I think sometimes bubblegum could use a little more.
Well, it certainly, those could certainly, this time of year, it is showing that it needs more fertilizer.
So the fertilizer we are using is the slow release, and that was done early on, and it probably was done throughout.
Right, so we certainly could, we need to step up our game as far as the fertilizer. Like the time release needs to be put down again. And if we had been, which is what I preach to you or tell you, is that if you want the huge, massive blooms and thick, gorgeous growth, you've got to feed your plants. And so we've just been relying on the time release.
This area has a lot of clay soil in it, so the fertilizer's there. So it's hanging out in the soil. So that's probably why in the video that you see that it looks really lush, and we have not been liquid fertilizing that one. We don't have to on that one. Other places we do.
Right.
So, anyway.
But it does get consistent water. It's just not from us. That's just, it is naturally, the good Lord takes care of it.
On to the next round.
On to the next round. All right. The next video was titled Midsummer Tour of Display Beds, and this is where we went a walkthrough on both the flower beds on both sides of the creek. So when you're coming to the nursery, these are the display beds that you see right away. Sandy says, off topic, but I am very interested to know your general personal routine for getting through your day with all that you have before you in the nursery business plus your personal home. How do you prioritize your personal routine and family life with your business life? Well, Sandy, that is a most excellent question, and it is one that is not a simple answer.
No, it's not. I mean, I don't really know how to answer that other than, you know, our marriage, the two of us, we do take time every morning, every afternoon and every afternoon to communicate with one another with our coffee time in the morning and in the afternoon, and
coffee time again.
We kind of even if we are, had been working together, it's still
but
just
normally
a time to sit down.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So then we have supper time, so we're all with the family at that time. So there's routines that are set in place that we do, and we try to do with the family all the time.
We do, right. So there's certain things for us that are kind of the non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And I say non-negotiables. Of course, there's grace and flexibility on certain things that happen, but we definitely, our marriage is top priority, and so we have our morning coffee time, we have afternoon time together, we have every Thursday night is date night for us. We started this when Jerry started it. It was when our kids were really little, so every Thursday night is date night, and 99.99% of the time it is spent on our living room floor, sitting there. Every once in a while we'll actually go out, but it was just a time for us to connect together, So now that the kids are older, it's fun because they get to have a fun meal, and then they get to go watch like a movie in their room where he and I just kind of hang out and get to have our own time together. But I do think it's a blessing. It's more of a blessing that our house is right here at the nursery, so that even though we're at work at the nursery, our houses and our kids are 5 minutes away. Our kids also work at the nursery. There is a balance. Now, of course, there's that summertime routine where the kids can sleep late, or I'm out in the garden early in the morning because of the heat, and then during the rest of the day I'm in the house. But we were just talking about schools getting ready to start because we do homeschool. Our girls, of course, are older, so they're going to be much more independent. But we were just talking about, because Jackson's going into 7th grade, and we were talking about how we're going to have to set up a schedule for his school time that's a non-negotiable, right? That school is from X time to Z time, and that everything else has to work around that. So routines are huge, but then there's also with that, there's flexibility and there's grace in that. And as the nursery grows, we're able to bring on more employees that help lighten the load on certain things.
Yeah.
So there's not really a clear answer, but I thought that was a really good question.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also think in terms of the project list, because the project list is forever going. It's like, what's on fire today? Okay, we're going to address the fire today, and everything else
a list,
gets bumped down a little bit.
With farming, and I've always told Jenny this too, is just that anything can trump the list. But you have to have some sort of bullet points every now and then.
Well, you think, and there's so many times during the day, you think you're going to do this today, and then life happens, and you're like, nope, not doing that. We're going to go do this. So grace, patience, understanding. Next one is from Bonnie. Bonnie says, I also love fountain grass because in that flower bed we have the purple fountain grass, which is just, spectacular. I always plant some. Is it a perennial in your area? No, it is not. But it
Everybody wants it to be.
Yes, but it is one of those plants. It is worth it for me. Even though it's an annual, I will continue to plant it every year because it is just glorious. I'm looking at the ones in the backyard bed and in the Weston urns, and they're spectacular. So, no, unfortunately not, but that's okay. I will continue to plant them. So that was all the questions I had on that one.
I know some of them
are short. Do you want to do one?
Yeah, I got shrubs for late summer color.
Oh, yeah.
It was a recent video from Brenda. She says, hi, Jenny. Just wondering if you thought I could put one of those Cinderella, Hibiscus, or Holy Grail at our beach house at the Outer Banks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's warm enough. I mean,
it's definitely warm because the summerifics are like summerific. Is that what she was saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's thinking about Cinderella or Holy Grail.
Cinderella.
You know,
yeah,
she said Cinderella, but it's Cinderella.
I'm sure it was probably autocorrect. Gotta love autocorrect.
Drives me crazy.
So they're hardy in zones 4 to 9. The only thing that I would say in the Outer Banks is that I am sure if you're in the Outer Banks, it's extremely sandy, and so the summerifics love lots of water and to be constant moisture. So I would say for you, maybe amend your soil with some good quality compost to help retain moisture. But as far as the heat and all that, I mean, and the sun, they would love it and they would be spectacular.
Yeah, just keep it on water.
Just keep it on water.
If you can put irrigation to it, I would do that.
And compost or mulch around it.
And put lots of mulch around it, and you should be fine.
Yeah. Was there another question off of that one?
Let's see. No, if you want me to do
Jerry's not used to being the
it's fine.
questionnaire.
No, that's the new video next.
Okay.
Today's video.
Colorful plants for the summer, hydrangeas and hibiscuses. So this is where we planted the Edge of Nights on Hydrangea Hill. Oh, so much fun. Teresa says, gorgeous. When should I fertilize my Limelights? I planted them in June. They have buds and appear they might be flowering within the next few weeks. Or should I be concerned with like re-fertilizing? So if you use your biotone, like a starter fertilizer, when you planted them, it probably would not hurt to go ahead and fertilize them again. I don't know where you are as far as like what your growing zone is. If you're in the south, we have tons of our growing season left. So you would be fine.
Yeah, with. I was just telling a customer today when they came to pick up their unique stone at production, they were looking out there, and like I said, you could see, we were just talking about the panicles all out there, which Limelight is one of those. We can prune them back now. We'll start taking off the brown because they go brown here. You know, so if you're in that type of zone, so maybe so, right? So because you go and you prune off the brown right now, feed them, and you're going to get a second flush of white flowers for the fall.
So that's what I did with the Incrediballs here at the patio. Yeah. They were on the struggle bus. I pruned them and then fertilized them again. So I would just say use your slow release fertilizer. You don't want to use like a liquid fertilizer with your hydrangeas. So your plant tone or your rose tone would be the two number ones. Rose tone would be the first one because they're the best for hydrangeas. If you don't have rose tone, use plant tone. And just sprinkle it around the base and you'll be good to go.
Good to go.
Nicole says, love that Brenna is so happy with getting a container reward after each planting. Question. Although these are perennial hibiscus, how much protection will they need in the winter? So for us, 0. They are hardy from zones 4 to 9. We are a zone 7. So I never worry 1 ounce iota at all about will they make it through the winter.
The only way you're going to lose one of those is if you put it in the wrong area and it is too like sopping wet in the winter.
Right. So, and this is on a hill, so I don't do anything to them. And before I knew better, according to what Spring Meadow, who is the Proven Winners Color Choice Nursery, they advise not trimming back your old stalks until going from winter into spring. Before I knew that, I just always cut mine down after the hard freeze because they were just the sticks, and so I just cut them down to the ground. Mine always did fantastic. Like I've never had an issue. I think the concern is maybe in like wetter, like colder, wet environments is that the water could get down into the stem maybe and rot it. So depending on where you are, would just be the time where you would prune it. But I always pruned mine down to the ground before I knew better, and they did just fine. So. Fabric and Flowers said, I love the hibiscus. I have a spot in the yard that is in a bog in the winter, but dry in the summer. Do you think hibiscus would do okay in that spot? Wet winter, dry summer.
The perennial hibiscus?
Mm-hmm. Summerifics.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah. I would say no. My first instinct.
Just said it's really wet in the winter and it's going to kill the perennial.
Well, and then my thing, like I'm concerned is if it were flip-flopped,
be good.
Then it would be good. But on the other hand, I'm all about experiment. So if you want to try it, then try it. Maybe I wouldn't put, 20 of them out there.
I wouldn't do it.
Maybe one. Jerry says he wouldn't do it. And the reason we're saying that is because their most active growing time, of course, is the summer. So they need the more water in the summer when they're actively growing. So even if the wetness in the winter didn't kill it, it's going to struggle in the summer from being so dry. That's a toughy situation. I don't have a really good answer. I say try one, see what it does. Jerry's like, eh.
Yeah.
So, sorry. All right, do you have any more? I have another one. I feel like it's Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Like I open a present, you open a present.
She's Kayla C.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the one that went out, the Perennial Hibiscus in the first round of Unique Stone Arrival.
Oh wow, that was quick.
That was yeah. So what? 7 hours ago.
Kayla, we are on top of it, honey. We are answering your question lickety split.
And which drench do you use on your hibiscus?
Yes. So I had a lot of people asking that. There
were lots of questions about it.
This is true. So because it was a nursery tour, and I talked about because one of the downsides for us, the hibiscus, is that we have two pests that will attack the plant. The sawtooth larva, fly larva, which is like a little tiny caterpillar early in the spring, goes on the underside of the leaves and will just put holes all in the plant. Doesn't kill it, just eats the leaves. And then, of course, the Japanese beetles. They will just devour the leaves and the blooms as well. And so in the video, I mentioned that I use a drench that lasts for 12 months. It takes care of all
so if you look
the pests
out there, Fertilize makes a drench. It's for tree and shrub. Mm-hmm. And their Bear makes one for tree and shrub. Either one of those will be fine. So that's what you're looking for, is the tree and shrub drench.
Right. We use the Fertilize because that's one that we can easily get from our supplier.
We do.
And it lasts for 12 months.
Yeah.
And all you do is it has the instructions, and based on the plant size, you mix up X number of the Fertilize with a gallon of water. You mix it together, and then you pour it around the base of the plant. And then it soaks it up and protects that plant from pests.
Yeah.
We have no issues with our pollinators. They're very happy around here.
So my last question I have,
okay.
and last question I have on this video.
Yes.
It says, gosh, Jenny, I really wish y'all could ship things. It says, I would love to have several of your plants that I can't seem to find in my area. It says an inside. I'm
Who was that? Who was that from? What sweet thing asked that?
Bobby
with a Y or an IE?
IE.
So maybe a lady.
Yeah.
So Bobby, I don't know if you this time last year we were coming out of shipping our plants, and so we shipped last year only. We shipped plants.
4 hours ago, Bobby.
And it was a challenging time. I'm not gonna lie. And I told Jerry, I said if we don't stop doing this, we're in serious trouble. But it seems that we're kind of going back in that direction. And I told Jerry, I said, I don't have a problem with shipping plants, whether it's perennials or annuals or shrubs, because there is most definitely a need out there for great plants, right? Mm-hmm. My issue from a wife and a mother and a businesswoman is we've got to have more infrastructure put in place before we do that again. So we need the dedicated space. We need the dedicated employees. We need all the things.
So that's why
I will be happy to promote it as much as he wants me to on videos and talk about it. He is leaning that he wants to do that. I still have scars and battle wounds from the shipping, and I don't want any part of it other than just talking about it and directing you to it. So that's why we're laughing at one another, is because he's ready to go back at it, and I'm just like, I told him, I said, you have fun, just send me the checks, it'll all be great. Yeah, just go for it. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I don't give you a timeline, but just know that that is something that we are prayerfully considering and we are exploring, and maybe at some point
it may not even happen next year. It may happen the following.
Right, because there's a lot of things that have to happen for us to do it correct.
Right, and it may not even happen, you know, so it's just...
There are great companies out there that I can point you towards to get them.
Yes, and there's some great companies that we deal with that are very open and very friendly to helping you set up that type of business, and companies that we deal with, and they have, you know, already within a day of discussions,
talking with them,
have like, oh my gosh, you know, that would make that whole process 10 times faster, and I'm not joking, 10 times faster, which alleviates stress.
Right.
And then it makes it, you know, streamlined, which is what that business would have to be. So it's just a lot of figuring and handling, that kind of thing. But, you know, it may be a certain type of plant. It may be it will be only certain sizes to begin with if it happens. So,
yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Bobby, that's a...
That was just really an inside joke question for Jenny.
Let me find a question real quick that I can ask him. He's just a barrel of monkeys, I tell you. Oh, my goodness. All right. So we're going to try... I'm telling you that we had so many videos. I mean, we could sit here forever. The next one was when I planted some butterfly bushes, the pokestar butterfly bushes in the backyard beds, and I'm trying a new lavender in the ground because lavender can be quite tricky for us with our clay soil. And so Elizabeth asked, she said, Jenny, what is growing in between your flagstones? So right here off the patio, we have a couple of steps that goes down into the yard, and then we have flagstones that are in the bed that help transition. It was last winter, late fall, early winter, and I was like, you know what would look really pretty here is because we had come out of the fall season, you know, selling fall annuals and perennials, and I had some black scallop ajuga, and I did not sell at the nursery in quartz, and I was like, that would be really pretty because ajuga is a fantastic perennial for us that is an evergreen, and it can do sun or shade. Very low growing. You can step on it and walk on it. It does not hurt the plant. Now this is not a huge high traffic area, so if if you had multiple people, numerous times a day traveling over it, it might, start to show some wear and tear. But that is black scallop ajuga, and it has spread really nicely and is filling in the cracks. I took
great plant.
Quart containers and I took my hori and just sliced it into pieces because some of the flagstone was very small that I had between it, and I couldn't really dig a good hole, so I would just make some room and shove it down in there, and it has done fantastic. So if you have an area that you want something to spread but not a crazy spreader, check out ajuga, and it comes in all sorts of different colors and leaf textures, but that's what it is, black scallop ajuga. Danica asked, how old are those daisies? So we have Daisy May planted right here at these beds, and those daisies are right at a year old.
Yeah, really close. Yeah.
Very close together. So I planted them as 1 gallon containers probably exactly like a year ago. And the key to making it look so lush and fantastic is our sweet friend Laura from Garden Answer. That's what I've learned from her, and hence later on other gardens, is that you take one plant, right, the Daisy May, and you plant multiples of those plants relatively close together. So those were there were 3 1 gallons that I put basically 12 inches apart. So when they come out and they grow and they flush in blooms, it looks like one huge massive plant where it's really just 3 plants. But those are a year old and were 1 gallon containers when I planted them.
Yeah.
And not on irrigation.
Well, great.
I had to water them, of course, to get them settled in.
Yeah.
And I like having beds that are not on irrigation, so that way I can show you what plants look like and how they perform not on irrigation, because not everybody has irrigation, and that's
not everybody uses it correctly.
And not everybody uses it correctly, and that's okay. I don't want you to think like, because that can be very overwhelming, especially if you're a new gardener. Oh my gosh, I've got to put in irrigation. No, you don't. No, you don't. We've showed you my mama's yard 1,000 times, and she has 0 irrigation. Yeah. Now she has to water, but she does not have automated irrigation. Irish Girl says, exciting to see how the lavender will do. The Ajuga is looking pretty between the stepping stones. Brenna is your constant companion. Yes, she is, my sister. How is Emily's rescue rose, the Julia Child Standard? Coming along very nicely. I have been very impressed with that rose. So to give you a little backstory, Emily, our oldest, who works at the nursery with us, we had a Julia Child Rose Standard from a year or two that we had ordered.
It was a year.
A year. And it was sad. I mean, it was pitiful looking. It was basically sticks. And Emily said, Mama, I just want to save it. I was ready to toss it. She wanted to save it. I said, fine. So we brought it over, got it planted in the backyard bed, lots of good compost, fertilizer, water, tons of new growth, buds. We're fighting the Japanese beetles there in the beginning. But I think she's going to make it and do really pretty. So I think coming in the spring, it's going to be gorgeous.
It's case in point, what we've been talking about. Talked about it earlier in the video. Get it out of the pot, get it in the ground, feed it, do some good things, and off she goes.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, so fun. Lan S. Hello, your garden is beautiful. Just one question. Can I use a water-soluble fertilizer on lavenders? I have the Munstead ones, and it's really not doing good. Thanks. So my first thing is no. So water-soluble fertilizer, for the vast majority of them, are for flowering annuals. And there is a different ratio of the different components in the water-soluble fertilizer. So unless that water-soluble fertilizer were to say, like, for perennials, I would not use it. What I would do is use your slow-release fertilizer. Plant tone would be a great thing to do for it. So just sprinkle some plant tone around it. If you're not pruning your lavender, you want to do that every, like coming out of winter, going into spring, give it a nice little haircut. Yeah, so that's what I would do.
Sounds good.
All right. It's just Vada. Everything looks awesome. I have a question about fertilizers. Can you use a PW water soluble on all plants or only certain ones? Thanks, love your channel. So that kind of goes with the same. The water soluble, especially from Proven Winners, is for flowering annuals.
On that thing it says every third water.
Right.
Not necessarily have to do it, but they're talking about their annuals. You would not do that to a perennial bed.
No. Perennials and shrubs really need fertilizer about once a year, maybe twice.
And if you did hit it with a water soluble, it'd be like once a month.
Right. It would be very sparse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I would just say, whatever fertilizer you're using, read their instructions, follow those instructions. Right. So, Stephanie says, lavender is a staple favorite of mine in Southwest Idaho. Question, off topic, do you cut out the spent blooms of your daylilies or let them go? That would be a lot of work. Thanks.
Yeah, we just let them go.
I just let them go. I have sweet, precious friends, Mr. Jim and Miss Wanda, who are just avid daylily gardeners. I mean, they're wonderful gardeners, but daylilies are like their specialty. I mean, like they take daylilies to shows and win awards for their daylilies. And they are faithful every morning. They go out and they're deadheading their daylilies. I'm just not that dedicated. I'm not that dedicated. So what I do is if I'm walking by and if I'm in that space and I see, then or maybe I want to take a picture and I want it to look nice, then I'll pop off the old blooms. But what I do is once they have finished blooming and you have the stalks, and once they start to turn brown and just are unsightly, I just add that to my chores when I'm doing my garden walks and I'm kind of maintaining the beds. Then I just go in and cut them down. But like a daily deadheading of the daylilies, I don't. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's about it.
Sure. Why not?
Sounds good.
Does sound good. Okay, so we have got an exciting couple of weeks coming up.
Yep.
We do. So this is the time of year where we're doing our traveling the most, right? So we had gotten back from Michigan. We did Spring Meadow, which was a lot of fun. Got to see lots of fun new shrubs that are coming out. We're going to be headed to New Hampshire to go back to our friends at Pleasant View Gardens. That is where we get all of our Proven Winter annuals from. So we will be doing garden tours and production tours at Pleasant View and have fun up there. And then, of course, at the end of the month, we're going to be at on Mackinac Island at the Grand Garden Show. So Proven Winners has asked me to be one of the keynote speakers. So I will be a keynote speaker along with Laura. And so Laura and I are going to do a little shtick together and have some fun and then do some breakout sessions. I know a lot of people were looking at the Grand Garden Show. It is sold out and has been for months now. This is the first year that they have come back after COVID. They had to take 2 years off because of COVID to come back, and it's sold out super fast. So if you're going to the Grand Garden Show and you already have your tickets, you can, if you would like to have lunch with me, you can do that. You can just go to Proven Winners website and go underneath like the shop tab and just scroll, and it'll have an option where you can add to have lunch with me. So I would love, it's Jerry and I, so we would love to see you there. Mm-hmm. We have got multiples of our customers who are going. One sweet customer, Miss Marianne, love Marianne, she was actually on the waiting list, and she got the call this week that she is going. So if you're on the waiting list and you're somewhat up there, you might get the call. So she's going to be there. So we're going to have lots of friends who are going to be there. We would love to have lunch with you. We would love to meet you. And if you can't get a ticket this year, just pay attention. I think it's somewhere around that like Christmas, January time period where they will open it up for 2023. So definitely, if you're thinking about it, pay attention and grab it as soon as they open it up, because those tickets goes fast and they can only have a physical amount of people in a room at a time, fire code and so forth. So they can't just open it up, you know, unlimited. So spaces are limited, and we would love to see you there, but we're going to have fun. Of course, we'll do videos and pictures and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good
Jerry's
stuff.
excited about getting all dressed up for the...
Yeah, it's going to be great.
We got that on camera.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.
Bye.